All right. Good morning, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to Real Talk with Karen Weaver. It's election time.
Indeed.
It's election time. I have my vote pen on, and as you see, I am here with one of our candidates, Jan Marie Arbor. She is running for 7th Ward City Council person. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
coming on this morning and talking with us.
Thank you for the kind invitation
Mm-mm.
and allowing me presence on your broadcast. I appreciate you so much. And
Look,
I appreciate our listening audience.
I know it. I'm glad because people are tuning in because you know what? People are paying attention to this election that's going on. And so, I know Jan Marie Arbor, and I'm sure many of you do as well, but some people may not know you. So
Yes.
let's give a brief introduction of yourself and tell
Sure.
us why you're running for 7th Ward.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, so again, I'm Jan Marie Arbor. I am a daughter of Flint. I was born and raised here and matriculated, of course, through the wonderful Flint Public Schools.
Uh-huh.
Having graduated in 1973, Central Indians, go Indians. And I, of course, as many of us, lived outside of Flint. I lived in
Mhm.
Chicago for a very long time, where I had the great benefit of having worked at the University of Chicago,
Okay.
supporting professors and such. And then
Just
in
let
the
Chicago.
corporate, the
Mhm.
corporate environment where I supported, top executives and so forth. So it was a wonderful life experience for me
Okay.
to, experience a bigger city,
Right.
Something outside of Flint. And
But you came back.
I came back. Well, I came back because, as many of us do with elder
Mhm.
parents and so
Mhm.
forth. And my dad had passed on in the late 70s, but
Okay.
my mother during that time, it was in the middle 90s, was
Okay.
afflicted with breast cancer.
Mhm.
And I chose to come back home, of course, to
But you
be
stayed.
with her. And I
But
stayed.
she stayed.
I stayed.
You're not
I
like
stayed.
many of us.
Like many of us, that's right. I stayed. And it was a difficult choice for me
Okay.
because, of course, I was accustomed to that big city life.
Right. I
Right,
understand.
But, and they say sometimes when you can't make a choice, just stay right where you are. Well, I stayed, and I'm still
Okay.
here. And I'm glad I did, because I've been able to reconnect with a lot of friends, and I've been able
Mhm.
to do a lot of things here in Flint that have given me great joy, and hopefully I've been able to give joy to a lot of people.
I was going to say
Yeah.
that wasn't one way. That went two ways.
Thank you.
Because I remember back when it was Hurley Health and
Yes.
Fitness and you were doing yoga.
Yes.
And I would come in your class
Yeah.
from time to time, and I really, really enjoyed
Thank
that.
you.
And a lot of people did.
Yes.
Because you did it at more than just Hurley
Oh,
Health
yes.
and Fitness. You've been
Yes.
doing it in this community. I know you were at Brennan, but you've been really involved and engaged in
I
this
have.
community.
Thank you. Yes.
And now you're kicking it up a notch.
I am kicking it up a notch, yeah, and this is a big notch.
This
and
is a big
stretch for me,
notch.
yeah, because I've never been politically involved. I've always been politically inclined in that
Mhm.
I paid attention to what's going on, for instance, on the national level, like
Right.
most of us.
Right.
I didn't pay, I must admit, so much attention to what was going on locally, but I most certainly did on the national level. And so the fire for political interest has never burned out totally. But having been back here in Flint and over the last several years, giving more attention to the politics of Flint, in particular, since Allie Herkenroder was elected,
Which
and
was our ward.
was our ward, our seventh
Seventh
ward.
ward.
That's absolutely right. And then with her resignation
Mhm.
from the position, and of course the vacancy that it left, it was important. And as you know,
Right.
I designed and hosted a couple of candidate forums for
Mhm.
the one from which Allie Herkenroder was first elected, and then Candace Machat was appointed. But really paying attention to what was going on,
Mhm.
especially with an appointee,
Right.
I felt I should do. And initially, of course, I congratulated the person because I was happy to see a younger person.
Mhm.
Again, assume the position just as Allie was a younger person, and you
Mhm.
always look forward. You
Right.
want the youth to step up to
Exactly.
lead, and because of things that I've witnessed,
Mhm.
I decided that I should
You
make a
know
run
what?
for the office.
And we're going to talk about that because once you find out, because I was like you,
Yeah.
as far as I was always politically, I did what I was supposed to do as far as voting and different things, but it wasn't until I got involved in a campaign and saw what was going on at the local level. And once you see what's going on, it's like it just, I don't know.
Yeah, it really
It pulls
grabs.
you in.
It does. It does. And once we understand that all politics are local,
Mhm.
everything starts right where you are. And if we're not engaged with what's going on right around us,
That's right.
then we're really kind of
We're in
distant.
trouble.
What we really
We
are,
really
because
are.
things move up. The
That's
local
right.
affects the state, right?
Yes.
And the state, the
Mhm.
federal. So we really do need to be aware. And as you know, we've got on the ballot right now, in addition to our 7th Ward City Council, we also have the state
We
representative.
have
That's
state
from, yeah,
representative. We have the first ward
yes,
council.
the first ward council
race going.
primary.
I mean,
That's right.
there's a lot
There's
going
a
on. There's
lot.
some county.
Yes, this is an extremely important election, and I do hope that people understand that. This is not an election where you just wait until November to vote for the president. No, no, no. We must vote for our local
Mhm.
candidates. Mine, of course, is a special
I was
election.
going to say, because
Yeah.
yours, some of these elections that are on the ballot right now still carry over till November.
Yes, first ward. for
But
instance.
yours, let's talk about yours in particular,
Yes.
because it's a little bit different.
Yes, it is. Yes. So this election, as you know, is to put a permanent position
That's right.
person in the position. So the person who's filling the position presently was appointed by council
Mhm.
following Ally Herkenroder's resignation. So this is an appointment.
Right.
She is an interim candidate, and she is running to be the permanent
Permanent.
person. Now, I firmly believe, of course, in elections, the voice of the
Of the
people
people.
should, pardon me, place the person
That's
in
right.
office. And sadly, the 7th Ward didn't have an election in February as it should
I was
have.
gonna
Now, that
say,
was a
that's
big
right.
faux pas.
That sure
that was
was.
a huge
And that's
mistake.
why we have to pay attention.
We must pay attention, because it's as though they were trying to hold on. Why? Because of ARPA dollars. There was
Right.
a lot
There-
of money on the table.
Tell
And
it.
you have to know who the players are
Right.
and what
That's
team
right.
they're batting with. You understand
That's
what I'm
right.
saying? And when there's an agenda, then it's in the interest of the person who's the coach of the team, we'll put it that way,
Right.
to have players in key positions in order to win the game that they want.
That
But it
they
may
want.
not be the game where the cheerleaders and the attendees are the people.
I was going
right?
to say, yeah.
The people might be missing
people.
out, right? Yes,
people.
yes.
And there are
people-
only a few winners.
only
And
a
when there are
few.
only a few winners, it doesn't benefit the people.
and that's what's happened.
So what do you want to do?
Well,
I mean,
Yeah.
let's start there. What do
Okay.
you want to do
okay.
for the 7th Ward?
First of all, I'm going to share with you what I believe to be, based on what I've been told by
Okay.
residents, the primary concerns, not only within the 7th, but this is just across the city. But what I've heard from residents in the city in the 7th, are blight. People are,
Yes.
of course, there's graffiti
I'm gonna see if
everywhere.
this is my list.
Yeah, abandoned homes
Uh-huh.
and, having walked the streets, don't take it that the wrong way, but not doors. Let's just put
Right.
it that way.
Right.
I have seen up close and personal the blight
Mhm.
that's within the 7th Ward and how it has been, things have just been neglected for
They
a
have
very,
been
very,
neglected.
very long time.
Right.
And I see where ordinances aren't being enforced and all
Mhm.
kinds of things like that. So that's one area. And then infrastructure. Infrastructure is huge. And in our own 7th Ward, right? in
We've got
every
some
valley,
raggedy roads.
We've got some raggedy
And I
roads.
walk those
And
streets
Gretchen
because
promised,
I go
she
walking.
promised to
Right.
fix the streets. Remember her?
And
Yeah.
we've got some.
Trees.
Whether you
There
talk
are
about
trees
streets.
growing in the streets.
There's
I-
trees that are
there's tr-
falling in the streets too.
Yeah, there are, and they lay there sometimes. But I mean, I've literally seen a tree growing out of a pothole in a
Yes.
street, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, look at that!" Right?
Mhm.
So that sort of thing. But most recently there was flooding just a couple of weeks ago as
Yeah.
a result of the
That's
heavy
a
rains that
problem,
we
too.
experienced. Well, someone in Evergreen Valley, along with others in her block on Evergreen Parkway between Valley Lane and April, experienced flooding in their basement.
Okay, so I stay on Woodlawn.
Okay.
There was, when I went downstairs, there was water in my basement.
See, yeah.
There
So
was
that
water
means
in
it's
Mhm.
likely that the infrastructure needs to be updated.
Right.
That, the pipes are just too small. But not only that, let's look at our sewer grates. Have all of you noticed, as I
Mhm.
do every single day, I'm always looking at the grates beside the street, right?
Okay.
And right there at the curb,
Yeah.
and how they're filled with dirt, grass, potato
Leaves,
chip bags,
mhm.
plastic bottles,
So
tree
so
branches.
things can't go
Things
down.
cannot go down properly. Our streets are not being well maintained. And we
Right.
know this is as a result of having been under receivership
Mhm.
when all of our equipment was taken away from
Mhm.
us. And we're understaffed at the city
Yes.
in order to take care of the blight problems that we're facing. So those are just examples there. And then lastly, public safety.
I was gonna say.
And public safety, oh
That's an
my
issue.
gosh, right here on Lippincott.
Mhm.
Just last Friday, a gentleman was murdered
At the
outside
store.
at the store. And I understand his body was on the ground for 5 hours.
Isn't
It's
that's unacceptable?
totally unacceptable. And then the following day, I believe it was, a woman was found murdered at a hotel on Dort Highway near
Mhm.
Skinner's Barbershop.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's getting closer to
There's-
home.
right.
We know it's been
There's a
happening
lot
in
of
other
crime.
parts of the city. Right. And I'm very concerned as our residents about police response time, police not getting or providing police report
Mhm.
numbers so that when things happen, an individual can provide the report
And you
to
know
their
what?
insurance company or
You
whatever.
brought up an interesting point because I've talked to some of the neighbors,
Mhm.
and one of the things we've said is we've seen police come in, but you never hear what happened. It's like whatever it was didn't get reported.
Yes,
And so the numbers,
are down.
exactly.
They are down. Yeah. And I don't want to say that this is true because I haven't vetted it, but I
Mhm.
was informed by a pretty well-informed gentleman in another ward that who was close with the state police. He
Okay.
has dear friends working within there. That there has been a disconnect
Mhm.
of the city with the state police, so that they're not receiving,
They're
I guess,
not
all
receiving.
the 911
Exactly.
police calls. So
Mhm.
it makes it appear as though there's less crime in Flint than there really is, and people shouldn't be.
And I was going to
misled
say
like
that they shouldn't be misled. It's
Right.
a way to trick the people.
Yes,
it
it
can
is.
give you a false sense of security.
Absolutely.
Because there are things we might do to be more safe if we knew some of the things going on.
Absolutely true. Absolutely true.
And when the community is uninformed, you can't make the best decisions
You can't.
for yourself
That's
and your
right.
family and people around you.
That's right. And that leads me to something that's a little bit more intimate, more
Okay.
direct, and that is neighborhood associations and block clubs. So
Mhm.
that's something that I want to implement as soon as possible, because in my own area, for
Mhm.
instance, in the Evergreen Estates area, including the Evergreen Valley, Lapeer Park, and Elm Park, that's the area in which I live.
Okay.
All of our neighborhood associations, with the exception of there is an organization called the Evergreen Block Watchers.
Right.
They've all fallen asleep. They've all
Mhm.
gone by the wayside. Therefore,
Mhm.
there's not that interactive
Like there used
work
to
as
be.
there used to be to help maintain, eyes on the
Mhm.
community and share information and do other meaningful things to help to stabilize our neighborhood. So
And
that's
you know,
something I hope to
It's funny because
reinstitute.
there used to be a guy. Now this had to be about 8 years ago.
Mhm.
Now don't ask what I was doing up at 4 in the morning.
Okay.
But I was up.
Uh-huh.
And I'm do you know people are walking there, people are doing things at
Yes,
4 in the morning. I didn't know that. I found out.
Absolutely.
And so there was this guy, and Rex and I, we were looking, and he had this van, and I said, what is this man? He was driving so slowly through the neighborhood. So, I'm thinking investigation, discovery.
Sure.
But actually what he was doing, he was going around to make sure things were okay.
Good for him. That's right.
And then I started noticing him and seeing what he was doing, and he would take pictures of things that didn't look
Very
right
good.
and let people know this is what we saw over. But that's not happening anymore. So
That's
some
right.
of the things that were in place,
That's
like
right.
you said, they've either gone to sleep. Some people have moved,
Yes.
and it just doesn't happen anymore.
Right. That's right.
So-
That's something that like a block watchers
Right.
would do. We did have that in our neighborhood for
Mhm.
quite a long time, and then it just kind of fell to the wayside.
Right.
The man who had been the
And I
chief
can't remember his
person
name.
moved to Florida
Okay.
in my neighborhood. But I must, compliment your neighborhood, the
Mhm.
College Cultural neighborhood area. They're so well organized, and that the people look out for one another, and they're
Mhm.
very engaged in neighborhood stabilization. And that's the same sort of thing that I want to see throughout the 7th Ward. And I don't believe in, redesigning the wheel. If
Right.
the wheel already exists, you just kind of get on it and you keep it
Mhm.
moving, right? So my idea is for, pardon me, please, a few key individuals and myself to get
Okay.
training through the Neighborhood Engagement Hub
Okay.
so that we get a good footing for
Mhm.
how we need to get ourselves reestablished and moving forward.
Right.
And then over time, we'll have the experience and documentation that helps us substantiate application for grants that we can use for other things to upgrade
Okay.
our neighborhood.
Because there's some things that need to be upgraded in the neighborhood.
Oh my goodness, there really are. You know, one of the things that I discovered, excuse me, while knocking doors, this is a safety issue. We have
Mhm.
such a, we have an elder population in
Yeah.
Flint. And walking up and down the stairs, the difference in heights of stairs.
I know it.
Some of them 10 inches high, others 6. Here's a 6, an 8,
So
and 10.
you
It's
know
just
what?
crazy. And then the rickety rails, and I'm like, oh
So
my
here I
gosh,
go.
here's a 70 or 80-year-old person, right?
And you'll see that.
Older.
You'll see sidewalks.
Oh my goodness.
So I'm going to go back to a question.
Yes.
Because this was a question that was actually asked at the forum,
Yeah.
at one of the forums
Okay.
that was held.
Mhm.
And it was because much of the ARPA dollars have been
Oh.
spent. And one of the things that we are outraged
Mm.
about is that it hasn't been spent for the people
Absolutely.
at large as a whole. When we see
Absolutely.
tarps on roofs,
Yes.
when we see windows
Yes.
that don't close, and we know what that does to consumers'
Oh, yes.
bills. When you see porches and stairs
Yes.
and sidewalks
Yes.
and all of these things that could help increase the value of a person's home, that can keep residents here,
Mhm.
that makes a difference in whether I have money now. Oh, now that my consumers isn't so much, I have money for my medication and groceries, and you're not making those hard choices. So one of the questions was, if more ARPA dollars were to come in,
Yes.
what would you do?
Well, one, I would most certainly address the home issues that we're
Mhm.
facing here in Flint. You know, we have to remember that those ARPA dollars were given across the country to
Yes, they
villages, to cities, to towns, just everywhere because of the economic lag that
Mhm.
had resulted from the
from COVID.
lack of
Mhm.
monetary exchange that we were accustomed to. You know, there are people
That's
right
right.
here in Flint, which is already one of the poorest places in Michigan, in the Midwest. It's really
Mhm.
sad. According to, I believe it was 2021 statistics, we have an average income of under $30,000 annually.
And that
So
is-
it's it's not good. So people need help. People need help because it's expensive now to replace a roof. I understand it's about $12,000 or so to replace a roof. That's a lot
that's
of
a
money.
lot of money.
If you're making under
That's right.
$30,000, you have children, et cetera, et cetera. So one area that I would like to see addressed would
Mhm.
be home improvements. We do need
that would
roofs.
make
We need
such a difference.
we need safe stairs for people to get into their homes. They need sturdy rails. People need windows. There is an opportunity for people to get furnaces through G Card.
Yes.
Okay, they there is that
Yes.
opportunity. And now we've got to give council credit. There was
Mhm.
a money set aside for sidewalks.
Right.
And we do see that the city is now going around and they're putting pink X's
I've been
on sidewalks.
Mhm.
So we're glad about that. But we want to see the homes become
That's right.
secure. So that
Mhm.
because when the roof is dilapidated, right, what happens? That roof begins to
Right,
cave
your
in. In
home.
addition, are you to losing the heat, et cetera, and the value of your home,
Of
that
your home.
begins to
It just-
fall in, and it lends to what? Blight, et cetera. So home improvements, that's a huge area
Well, then
in
we-
addition to infrastructure.
I expect to see a whole bunch of X's in my neighborhood because
there
it's
are.
an old
There are.
neighborhood and those
There are.
trees have been there for such a
Yes,
long time
yes.
that our sidewalks.
Oh my goodness. I
When
mean, they're
I know
hills.
it. You can't. So if you're walking, if you're a child riding a bike,
Oh,
if you
so
use
unsafe.
a cane
Yes.
or a wheelchair or a walker,
Yes.
I mean, you can't do it.
no.
You can't do it, and you don't want to go on the streets because some of the streets are bad as well.
Yeah, some of them are, but
Yeah.
I think
So
that
we
might
have
be
to-
more state.
So
Yeah.
we have to. Oh, you have some. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, y'all got a lot going on in here
Okay.
today.
Oh, okay.
So I told you, just waiting. Anyway,
Okay,
we got
Landon.
AC Dumas is watching.
Hey, AC.
Black Network Associates said, "Hey, Karen, good morning." Yes, we are. Now I'm going all the way back to the beginning just so
Okay.
y'all know it's
Well,
been a
let's
few
hear
people in here. I wish I still reside in Flint so I could support Jan.
Oh, thank you.
You have Miss Frances Gilchrist watching, Miss Maxine Murray
Good
watching.
morning.
John Malley said, "Good morning. I love seeing Weaver. She's a gem."
Yes.
Black Network Associates said, "Revitalization is needed."
Yes.
AC Dumas said, "Remember to take your soul and others to the polls to vote on Tuesday, August 6, 2024. Your vote and voice. Vote for Jan Marie Arbor, 7th Ward, and Carol McIntosh." To the polls and not the pools and vote. Mercedes Kinney said, "Good morning, Dr. Karen Weaver and special guest, 7th Ward candidate Jan Marie Arbor. I support you and looking forward to your fundraiser on Thursday, July 25th at the Golden Leaf Club.
There.
Yeah.
Hope to see you." Black Network Associates said, like a neighborhood watch program.
Mhm.
John Malley said the 7th Ward needs a a respective representative. The person that was appointed is embarrassing.
Yeah.
She's very condescending. She doesn't respect
Mhm.
elder people, and she's just not a good council person. AC Dumas, you started going into it, so this is why I didn't stop you, because you started going into some of your priorities.
Yes.
But AC Dumas did ask, what are your top 3 priorities?
And that she-
Black Network Associates said ARPA dollars, nonprofits, and business capital infusion. AC Dumas, hold on, I'll leave off on his last comment. Said sidewalks in certain areas, not on the north side. And last but not least, AC Dumas said, get rich quick, start a 501c3.
Oh, you're not kidding.
But this leads me, I was listening to one of those comments, and I don't remember who I was talking with,
Mhm.
but it was about you. And
Mm.
what they were saying about you was, we want somebody that is respectful, that
Mhm.
will represent us well,
Thank you.
that's not going to get there and be part of the drama.
Yes.
Because people are tired of drama.
Absolutely.
When we've got our lives are full of our drama,
Mhm.
Especially when you look at what's going on in our city.
Mhm.
I mean, we haven't caught a break
Mhm.
in a long, long time. And so people want somebody that's going to represent them well, that's not going to be there yelling and screaming and
Mhm.
cussing and,
Mhm.
and is there for the people and wants to hear from the residents.
Yes.
And so that was what they were saying about you yesterday.
Oh.
And I said,
Thank you.
okay, so I've been hearing that a lot.
And if I might add, and I
Go
appreciate you
ahead.
sharing that. Thank you. And
Mhm.
I'm so appreciative to the voices who have
Mhm.
expressed that, because we hear the word decorum
Yes.
oftentimes used in council, but very seldom is it practiced.
Right.
And I strongly believe that if we don't present ourselves as decent, caring, respectful people
Mhm.
who need to work together in
Right.
order for the betterment of the city, others aren't going to take us seriously. And an area that is very important to not only the stability but the future of
Mhm.
Flint is business growth.
Right.
And I always say, and I don't know if it's true or not, but this is what goes
Okay,
on
let
in
me
my
see.
mind, that if I were a wealthy person, let's say if I were an Elon Musk or a Bill Gates or Warren
Okay,
Buffett or
stop
someone
it. Just
like
stop,
that, right?
because this is no, because I know exactly where you're going, and
Yeah.
it happened
Yeah.
because when I was in office,
Yes.
Bloomberg. It was Bloomberg. It was what is his name? With the not Musk, because he was doing some other
Mhm.
things. Bantos, is that his name?
I don't know.
Jeff
What
Bezos.
organization?
Yes.
Jeff
Who-
Bezos.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I don't
He's
know
with-
that gentleman.
Bezos.
Bezos. Yes.
Be-
I mean, it was a
Amazon,
group.
yes.
Yeah, it was a
Uh-huh.
group of them
Yes.
that were coming because they wanted to do another factory,
Oh.
and the council clowned.
Oh.
And they didn't realize who was behind wanting to come in and
Mm,
start this
mm,
business. And they talked about them and said,
Oh,
that
goodness.
these weren't real people and all that. Well, a lot of times people want to come in and they don't need everybody to know, because Bloomberg was doing a lot for Flint. And sometimes I didn't even know that. So it's
Oh,
like, wow,
my.
you did that? And I find out later on. But they didn't do it.
Well,
They didn't do
and
it because of
understandably so.
council.
Yeah.
And we lost that.
Yeah.
We lost
and
that.
we can't afford to lose those
No.
types of opportunities. If I were one of those men or women who had
Mhm.
very deep pockets, and I
Right.
wanted to do something good for society and help a city
Flint's a
such
great place.
to help
Do
a
it.
city such as Flint that is economically depressed, and we are, that I would have my emissaries look at, for instance, city council meetings, or what does the
That will
mayor
scare
have to
them
say, or
away.
what is the crime rate, what's going on with
Mhm.
public schools and all that. I would want to know. You've got to understand the culture of a city
That's
all
right.
the way around before you invest your
That's right.
dollars, right? So it's incumbent, in my opinion,
Mhm.
upon those who represent this city at every level to do everything that they can to be the best person that they can be, right, in order to give a good image
Right,
to
and
the
make
city.
people want to
Right.
come
So
and
it's
spend
how
their
do we
money.
converse with one another? Do we listen to one another? Do we value another person's input? When we receive information that may be
Mhm.
disagreeable, how do we respond to that information without being argumentative or ugly or insulting or something
Right.
like that? We have to kind of, lift up our our standards.
Uh-huh.
Not kind of.
We
We need
do-
to
we
lift
do
our
have to,
standards so that we can lift our city. So that's what I hope to bring to city government. I'm sure you've seen, or anyone who's received my card, my mailing, my first mailing, is that honesty and integrity are extremely important. In other words, why tell a lie when the truth will do?
Right.
Because when you tell a lie, you got to tell another lie. You know,
Then you got to remember the one you
then you have to
told.
remember that, and then the ethics that are expected of a public servant should always be at the forefront of one's mind, whether you're in council
And how you
or
portray
if you're
yourself.
the mayor or whatever position your ethics are extremely important. It's your character. So I must say that there's an attack on my character right now. There is an individual, he and his partner from the 7th Ward, and I'll name him Doug Matthews. He's like a toothless little chihuahua, just biting at the ankles on behalf of Mashat, who is representative, of course, of the mayor's agenda.
Right.
And they're making personal attacks against me, which are totally wrong.
Right.
Accusing me of being a liar and that, I've been starting mess at council, and the things that I have said at the lectern have been agitating, and that's just not true. It's just completely the opposite.
I was gonna say, we've watched you.
Yeah.
We've watched
Yeah.
you. We've seen you.
Yeah.
And we've experienced, especially those of us in the 7th Ward, when you organized the way you did it.
Yeah.
And everything was with dignity and class.
Thank
And there was that listening ear. Because we don't always agree on
That's
everything,
right.
but there was that listening ear to say, okay, how do we take this into consideration?
Absolutely.
Or here's why we can't. I hear what you're saying, but here's why we have to do it this way. And that's how we need to approach each other.
We do.
Because the respect part is
Right.
missing.
Right. It is missing. And another thing that I don't care for about council is it seems as though it's a football team. This team against that team.
Right.
Instead of let's try to work together to
We should
do the
be a
best.
team.
Yeah, to do, we may not agree. Everyone may not, but it doesn't have to be, 5 versus 4 or whatever
Well,
it is.
seems like it's a
but
lot
let's-
personal.
There's a lot of personal stuff, but what's most important?
Right.
Is it my agenda and how I can benefit? Because what I
No.
seem to witness, and perhaps I'm, understanding this wrongly, but it's as though people are preparing for the next level. So they're trying to set themselves up for something else. And there's a lot of it's about me and
Right.
personality instead of we and the people of the city of Flint. What are we doing together in service to the people of the city of Flint? So that's where I want to focus, and I want to work with people who are of like mindset. So I hope that when I'm elected to council, that I will bring kind of a calming sort of attitude to council, and one where there's more camaraderie, more honesty, instead of hidden agendas or just really blatant outright, I'm doing this for me, I'm going to vote for my piece because I wrote
Right.
for instance with neighborhood associations, or $300,000 for resolutions that
Right.
will benefit their interests and that sort of thing.
So
That
you don't
kind of
have a
corruption.
501c3.
I do not have a
I just thought I'd
501c3.
ask.
No, I do not. I do not have investment in anything like that. I am not interested in being on council to serve myself.
Thank you.
I want
Thank
to
you.
help the ward. I want to help the people of the city of Flint. I just want to help Flint move to the next level, and that's up. That's not straight across, and it certainly isn't down. So I just want to work with people who want to do well for Flint.
Oh, yes.
Here, I was gonna say we might want to catch up for it.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good,
it
though.
started, yeah.
Let's see.
And a lot of your points, like I said, I keep going when you're kind of going
Mhm.
along with them, so
Okay.
I don't interrupt. I just let
Thank
you, and I highlight the comment that they asked. But I'll end off. We ended off with how will she act with council and Sheldon Neely. A unified approach changes everything. Now this one was a long one. Actually, I shouldn't put that on the screen because they're kind of. But yeah, John Malley. Yeah, you understand why I can't put the comment on the screen. I did put it up there, but you get what I'm saying. If you would
I'm gonna have
let
to go back and look.
if you would let a white man openly call your own race a derogative word such as blank, the N-word, and she says that's okay because I need the white vote, that's shameful, and you would compromise your integrity to that level.
Yes. That's what
AC Duma
right.
said you were
The
having
interim council person did, yes.
he said you were having a senior moment a second ago.
About what?
I don't remember.
About Bezos.
No, I didn't know I couldn't know his name.
Ms. Gilchrist says respect is critical in
Yes.
getting collaborators.
Yes.
Black Network Associates said we need systems that rewards inclusion, collaboration, and positive
Mhm.
contributions.
Absolutely.
AC Dumas says Weaver is a clinical psychologist. Maybe she can therapy sessions, or maybe she can have therapy sessions with them. ARPA money to
I do
pay
children. I do
Weaver.
kids.
Well, a lot of adults have kids.
I know it. And somebody said that. They said you be right where you need to be. I said, not kids in adult bodies.
Right.
Not children in adult
Oh,
bodies. I
goodness.
don't do that. But they brought up some good points, but those were things that you were touching on. All of those kinds of things. And one of the things that I remember and recall, and I think it goes into people taking things personally, is there are things that I might do, and they said, well, you're doing that for yourself. It's like, no, I'm doing it for the office of the mayor.
Yeah.
Because there's a certain respect and
Yes.
dignity that you should want to have with this office, because I'm not going to be the
Absolutely.
mayor forever.
That's right.
I said, and I could not be it tomorrow, but it's for that office.
Absolutely.
There are, I remember the president of the council, there were certain things that come because you are president. There are certain things because you are the police chief, or you hold, it's those titles and not the person.
Absolutely.
And so, it was, I'm not doing this for me because I could be going tomorrow.
Mhm.
And it's for this office.
Absolutely.
And how we want it to be represented and seen by others. And that's what you're talking about, because others are watching. People are watching Flint all around the country.
Well, certainly they are.
And it's in a negative way.
Yes, and that's quite disturbing. It's very hurtful, having grown up in a city that's been so good to me.
Mhm.
General Motors, of course, was at its heyday when we
That's
were
right.
children, and by benefit of General Motors and its
Mhm.
related businesses,
Right.
and just the growth and the
We saw
quality
a lot of great
education here,
things.
Flint was like heaven on
Right.
earth, to tell
It
you
was.
the truth.
It was.
And I was so proud
Mhm.
when I lived in Chicago to tell people that I was from Flint, Michigan. I was just proud to tell people that. And people thought I was a little bit different because I was from Flint.
Mhm.
They said, oh, well, you sound like, I didn't have a complete college education.
Uh-huh.
I said, oh, you sound like you've had your doctorate. I said,
Mhm.
oh, no, are you kidding? No,
But
no.
our
I said, but my
educations
education, it was my
was one of the
education.
top in
We
the
had
country.
the best teachers.
Yes.
And we also had neighbors who cared about all the children.
Mhm.
People worked together. Our neighbors worked together. We were the block clubs.
Right.
They were block clubs before we knew
Right.
they were block clubs.
Exactly.
And people cared about one another's children.
Mhm.
It wasn't unusual for the school principal to stop by the house and say,
Mhm.
Mrs. Arbor, did you know that Marie was playing bid whist during lunchtime today? We had that kind of care and
Right.
concern from our teachers, from our superintendents, and everyone knew one another. From our doctors,
Right.
Your dad was a doctor,
Doing
and
house
all
calls. and
house. It
my
was
neighbor
just
would
such
say,
a different.
"Girl, if you don't
different
stop,
environment.
I'm gonna get you." And
That's
you're like,
right.
"Oh,
Or I'm
man."
going to tell your parents.
Exactly. And that was. But
That's
but
just
look
what
at
that
how things.
Oh,
They
things
were
are so different now.
they're
They're so
very
different.
different
So
now.
I miss those days, but I know we'll not go back to those
Right.
days. This is a different,
But we can
time
still
in
go
history.
back to respect
We
and
can.
honesty and dignity.
and that's what we need in society in general. We need to learn to show self-respect
Mhm.
and respect for one
others.
another.
That's right.
It's just,
That's right. So
How
I
can we
want
not?
people to know. So the election, and I want to go back to this in
Sure.
case somebody just tuned in,
Mhm.
because people will say, "Oh, I'll vote in the general." If you don't vote in the primary, your person may not make it to the general. If you don't vote in the primary, some of our elections end in
Such
the
as this
primary.
one.
That's what I
Yes.
was going to say. This is one that it's determined August 6th.
that's correct.
People, you can do absentee ballot voting. Early voting starts 9 days before election day. Take somebody, but make sure you go and vote, because this is
It's
our
extremely
voice.
important.
It's extremely important.
And may I share this? It's
Yes.
because I noticed this while door knocking. One of our elders completed her ballot incorrectly
Okay.
because she voted both party lines. So
Okay.
we want to be careful
Right.
about reading
You
our
cannot do
ballot
that.
and make sure that you either vote for the Democratic
Mhm.
Party or the Republican
That's
Party,
right.
but not both,
You can't
because
do
that will just nullify
That's
the
right.
entire ballot. So let's carefully read. And another thing I'm going to ask
Go
is
ahead.
that we try to find out as much as we can about a person.
Do your
Do
research.
your research rather than saying, oh, you know what, I went to church with him, or I
Right.
know his cousin, or
That's
we went
right.
to school together. Because I understand that a certain person who's pretty prominent in local politics comes from a very good family.
Mhm.
However, sometimes the fruit doesn't match the tree from
Right.
which it falls. So we need to try
That's
to
right.
vet out individuals and
There's a rotten
learn.
apple on that tree.
That's right. That's
Look at
right.
that.
It's kind of wormy, you know.
That's right.
So
What'd you say? It's kind of
it's kinda
wormy.
wormy. So, rather than, oh, I like the sound of that name or
Right.
whatever it is. For instance, on my literature, my phone number, my personal phone number is indicated, as well as my campaign email address. So if there's a question that you have of
You
me,
know how to reach
I
her.
invite you to call me. Don't be afraid to reach out.
That's
That's
right.
why I put it on there, because I want to be able to answer your questions. I also want to hear your concerns. So I'm not trying to create a wall between us. I'm
Mhm.
letting you know there is no wall right now, and not to say that once I get in office, I'm going to want to hear from everybody 24/7, because I got to sleep,
Right.
right?
You-
And all that kind of
Well,
stuff,
we hope so you can
Right,
make
gotta
good
sleep so I can
decisions.
make good decisions, right? I gotta make good
We want you to
decisions.
get some rest.
But
and make good
right, this is a
decisions.
very important time. It's a very important. I want people to be mindful of this also. I've done things in the community
Mhm.
without being
Elected.
elected, just being a concerned citizen.
Mhm.
When, for instance, on Center Road there, everybody remembers the old Howard Johnson's,
Mhm.
and then it became another kind of hotel, and now it's just the shell of whatever it is. Well, the owner of that property attempted to have it rezoned so
Mhm.
that ostensibly a marijuana grow facility could be built. Well, that's right by Evergreen Estates, and that's my backyard,
Right.
right? And I said, no, that's not going to
Uh-huh.
work. Once I researched it and so forth. And interestingly, the letter that I received was not sent to everyone in the neighborhood. It wasn't sent to
Okay.
my next door neighbors, nor was it sent to Monica Galloway, who was council person at the time.
At the time.
And I
Okay.
reached out to her and asked, have you received this? She says, no. So I did the research and I says, hey, why don't you work with me on
Mhm.
this? And we're going to go door to door, and I'm going to have a letter prepared, and we'll have people sign it. And then we're going to call into the planning and zoning meetings, and people will call in, and it didn't happen. They lost. Well, guess what? They tried it again
Mhm.
about 6 months later, and I showed up at city council
Mhm.
again and fought back against it and
Yeah.
won again. But the biggest thing was keeping the seventh
That-
ward together.
That's right.
When the president
That's right.
of the College Cultural Neighborhood Association contrived to divide the seventh ward, i.e., splitting the predominantly Black neighborhoods
Mhm.
from
Kicking them out.
kicking us out. So that included Elm Park, Lapeer Park, Evergreen Valley, Evergreen Estates. And I tell you, the divine is so
That
wonderful.
was. Wasn't that something
divine
how to
intervention.
find
It was
out?
divine intervention. And I'll tell you,
It
it
sure
was
was.
difficult to see when I was presented with that map.
Uh-huh.
And it was printed out in desert colors. And
Uh-huh.
those desert colors aren't real
You can't-
pronounced, right? And I'm looking under the lighting, and I'm like, gosh, I can't really tell. And I went into the person's office where the lighting was
Uh-huh.
brighter, and I saw what it was, and I hit
She
the
got
roof.
no.
I
She got
hit the roof.
busy.
I got busy.
She got busy.
I did. I got busy. And immediately, there was a clarion call put out
That's
there
right.
for people to come together, where I was able to work with the Evergreen Block Watchers and ask them, would you please allow me to do a robocall?
Mhm.
Right? And we just, collectively
I got
through
that
different,
call.
that's right.
And I was
We
glad
sent it out.
because you didn't leave us out.
No.
Staying in the cultural area, because there were some of us that said, they're not going to leave us here by ourselves.
And I'll tell you what would have happened had that happened. See, this is what persons in the Fairfield Village and College
So-
Cultural Neighborhood Association need to be aware
Mhm.
of. Persons of color like
Would
ourselves.
Exactly.
Your political voice would not be
It would
as
not-
strong.
And that's what they were doing.
That's right.
Was diluting our voice and making it so we could never have somebody that looked like us
Absolutely.
in that seat again.
That's right.
And that was the goal.
And here's another big one. Had they cut
Mhm.
our areas out, you know what it would have done to our property values? Because we then would have been associated with the fourth
right.
ward.
Things would have
Oh
gone
my
down
gosh.
again.
Our property
she
values
did
would have
this.
plummeted.
Oh, you know what? We've just been talking, and we're going to be out of time in a minute.
Uh-oh.
We're going to come, but
Yes.
before we go, I want you to tell people because it's election time.
Yes.
Vote. I'm gonna give you a chance to let people know why they should vote for you. I already know why, but let other people know
Thank you.
why.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for listening to me speak today, and thank you for considering me to be your elected representative. I'm asking that you do vote for me because you need someone who is going to represent you well. Our ward is an extremely important ward in the city of Flint, and we need an individual who is going to represent it with intelligence, well thought out, honest decisions, not with a personal agenda. I have no personal agenda other than to serve my community well. And it isn't limited just to Evergreen Valley, the estates, et cetera, but it's the entirety of the 7th Ward. That's extremely important. I'm an honest individual. When you speak to me, I'm going to listen to you. I'm going to do everything that I can to respond to you. I can't say that I'm always going to make you happy, but guess what? I'm going to try my best to make you happy. I'm not going to exclude you from decisions that need to be made because I want to hold town halls and invite you to be present, to share your points of views, to let me hear your yays and nays, and for you to make your suggestions. I think that's very important in our democracy and in our council business and city business. I hope to bring positive change to the council by being a voice of reason, by being someone who is more calm. Not to say that I don't get upset about things, because I do, and I can go there when I need to. But that is not typically who I am publicly. That's pretty reserved. So you don't have to worry about me saying the F word from the dais. You don't have to worry about me cursing out colleagues or telling them they're stupid, or telling a man that he's not a man and doesn't know how to treat women. You don't have to worry about me calling the police on you and arresting you as the interim person has done. Those things are not acceptable. You won't have to concern yourselves with those things. My purpose is to help this ward move forward. I want it to become a more stable ward, and I'm sure that you do too. So I'm asking for you to please give me your vote of support on August 6th. Thank you.
And if they can't wait until August 6th, you can go there now. Absentee
Absolutely.
voting is taking place right now. You can
Indeed.
vote early, and just, make your voice and your vote count.
That's right.
It's time.
It is.
And don't not be involved, because your vote matters and your voice matters, and you want
Yes.
somebody that's going to represent that and
Yes.
represent us in a way that we deserve to be represented.
Absolutely.
And I want to say thank you to you, not just for coming here today, but I noticed that at the forum, you were the only candidate for the 7th Ward that showed up. And that's important. That's important. And it's one thing, and I understand, people have things going on, but to not even respond, to say, I can't be there, I have this going on. I mean, to just not respond. And so I like to thank people and thank candidates and elected officials that show up
Thank you.
when they've been called on. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming today, and thank you all for tuning in to this episode, this edition of Real Talk with Karen Weaver.
I do
Get
want
out
to
and vote.
highlight some of these before we get
Okay,
out
go
of here, if
ahead.
y'all don't mind.
Go
'cause
ahead,
we
go
have-
ahead.
They said they act like kids, but not all of them. The office belongs to we the people. Politicians just occupy the people's office for a limited time.
That's right.
Government of the people, by the people, for the people.
Yes.
You can return your spoiled ballot back to your local clerk's
That's
office. FYI, absentee ballots, updates, City of Flint, 6,200 mailed out, 2,500 returned, and 3,700 not returned.
Wow.
Jan said he is a toothless chihuahua, all bark and no bite. Miss Mercedes said, yes, I was there. Black Network Associates said, I gained a new sister today. Thank you, Jan, for your passion for the city of Flint. And then last but not least, AC Dumas said, the August primary election is Tuesday, August 6, 2024. Polls open from 7 to 8. Take your soul and others to vote, to the polls and vote. Your vote is your voice. So I just wanted to.
And that's a good way to end it. Your vote is your voice. We have a very important election coming up August 6th. So get out and vote. Jan Marie Arbour is running for the 7th Ward City Council. Let's help get a person in there that represents us.
Thank you so much. Thank you all. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.